The snow is still in the mountains here in Vermont and on the ground. But the chickens don't seem to mind. There are enough bugs for them to nibble on. On this rare sunny day, after a week of snow and sleet and rain, I go for a walk. I remember reading that if you are seeking creative ideas, go out walking. Angels whisper to the person who walks. I really needed to hear those angels whisper to me because lately my creativity has been missing. So it felt good to be out in nature and to take a deep breath and to trust once again that there is new life all around. Back at the farm, there is plenty of life. Some I don't want at all, like that snake. But the girls are now free-ranging, even though there still is a fox around. I saw the paw prints in the snow the other day. While spring might be taking its time to fully come here to Olde Stone Well Farm, I find ways to overcome my lack of creativity, like planting my garden. I ordered way too many seeds this year, but I have high hopes. Before planting some of my seedlings, I noticed a love note in this dress that I just got. This company loves placing them in the pockets, and this one was perfect for today. Happiness is in the quiet, ordinary things. Happiness is in the quiet, ordinary things. Like filling these pots up with dirt, placing a seed in them to grow again. Lately, joy has been missing in my life. But if I just look around and see and hear and feel and taste, I know that God is good. If I use all my senses, I can connect with the divine once again. For God speaks to us in the ordinary days and in so many ordinary ways. Well, today is also the solar eclipse. I was curious to see how the chickens would handle it. They seemed intrigued. I went to go outside to take a look, and I couldn't sit at the old stone well because the snake was still there. While we didn't have a total eclipse, there's so much to marvel in God's creation. And today was a day I remembered that joy is found in every little thing. Well, welcome, my friends, to Olde Stone Well Farm. As always, it is wonderful to have you join me here in this old kitchen. I wanted to come to you a little bit earlier and to share with you some things that were on my mind right after Easter. And I found myself that week just not able to really get with it. All right, I'm just going to be honest. I have been struggling. Last week, there were just so many things that were thrown at me in so many different directions that I just could not function. I just couldn't think anymore. And I felt like I was being pulled in so many different directions. And on top of it, the weather was crazy. It was high winds, warm, heavy rain, and then it turned to sleet. Then the temperatures dipped and we had 6 inches of snow. The snow came on Thursday and continued into Friday and even Saturday morning when I went for my walk. Oh yeah, and on top of all that, there was an earthquake. I didn't feel it. Some friends across the border in upstate New York, they felt the tremors. On top of the crazy weather pattern last week, and now today is the solar eclipse, it's been a really crazy time here for me at Olde Stone Well Farm, and I really have been struggling as to direction, where to find hope, how to just find peace. And you would think that this season of Easter that we are in, and yes, it's a season, it's not just one day, but it is a full 50 days to really embrace a new life, an Easter life. How do we really see the world filled with hope? Ironically, found myself feeling so hopeless. It wasn't just the weather, which I think had a lot to do with it, but we also had a trying time with our taxes, and expenses are just going through the roof. I don't know how families do it when they go to the grocery store. It's just my husband and myself, and the prices really rattle me. That's why I'm trying to expand my garden this year. I really am not a great gardener, but I try. I found some interesting new seeds that I want to plant in addition to regular herbs and guaranteed beets and tomatoes. I can grow those. But I also came across something called Job's Tears, which is like a bean, and it can be dried and made into rosary beads. I'm really hoping that my Job's Tears will take root and do well this year. I mentioned to my husband one morning that I want to expand the garden. And he knows that I'm not a great gardener, and he knows that I really don't keep it well maintained, and sometimes it does look like an eyesore. Like right now, it looks like a really bad eyesore. And he basically said, we can't have a bigger garden. We can't because we don't have enough water in the well. We've been having a lot of problems with our well system. There's been some occasions where there was no water, and that kind of scared me. It takes a lot of water to tend to the garden. And I remember last year my husband saying that we can't water the garden because the water pressure is really low. So I have all these things that just seem to be obstacles or challenges, or it's like the whole universe right now is just placing these stumbling blocks in front of me. I know that this too shall pass, and I know that those stumbling blocks, I could move them with God's help. I know that these challenges, they don't have the power to really hold me down. But my friends, let's be honest. When life really throws these challenges at you, there are moments that you feel like you can't overcome. And I was in that place last week. When I came home from church, I did go for a walk. It was the first time I saw the sun. But when I got back, I just curled into bed and I put the covers over my head. I had no energy. I had no desire to get to all the things that are on my list to get to. I didn't like the way I felt at all, but I just needed to put the covers over my head and curl up and just say, God, I've had enough. I don't have to think anymore. I didn't want to have to deal with anything anymore. I didn't have the energy to even speak to anybody. And I know that could be a sign of burnout, perhaps. And then I remembered the first night after the resurrection, when Jesus' friends gathered and they were still unsure what was going on, and they're in the upper room and they lock the door. And that's when we get the story of Jesus just appearing. He just enters into their frightened, unsure, dark space. Even though the doors are locked and they're hiding, Jesus can still enter in, and with the beautiful message of shalom, peace, which means not just a perfect content attitude, but wholeness. I want you to be whole. Peace be with you. I want you to finally to be whole and happy and know that everything's going to be okay. There is nothing that will prevent God from coming into my life and helping me. No matter how much despair there is in the world, or despair in your life, or how dark things get, or even when you find yourself in those funks where it seems like you just can't seem to face the day, or you have no energy or desire to face the day, that you're going to be all right, because no darkness can hide the light of God. So that helped me to know that I was not alone, and that even though it's the season of Easter and I should be searching for new life, even if I found myself in a slump, even if I wanted to just lock the doors and turn off the lights and just hide from the world, Jesus finds me. And Jesus says, no, come out, live. We can face this together. And if only we could imagine in our darkest times, Jesus just sitting down with us here at Olde Stone Well Farm, Jesus just joining us and then saying to us in our funk, in our despair, in our moments that we're in a slump, whatever you might call it, Jesus sitting there and asking you, okay, what went wrong? And here's what we're going to do about it. So that was the place I was in, and I'm slowly emerging out of it and beginning to see signs of new life, and planting the seeds, it does help to do that as well. I'm not a great gardener, and I often marvel at the little seed thinking, how is this really going to grow? And we have that great verse in the Bible. He takes the seed and he says, a seed must die in order to have life. And it's not so much the seed has to die, but rather it has to be planted in order for it to break open with life. I had a friend who was a master gardener explain that to me, that the seed is like a little embryo, and once it's planted and it's warm and it just takes its cue from nature, and then it just begins to burst open. So rather than a seed dying in order to have new life, it is powerful to me to think that a seed, that potential that is in us, it has to be broken open in order for it to really take root and to bloom. How is God asking to just break whatever is in my life and break it open to the new possibilities? But I think we're so afraid of the whole concept of brokenness. We don't want to break. We don't want to be broken. We do anything we can to remain whole and intact in, well, our version of being whole and intact. But if there is a seed of hope, a seed of potential, a seed of possibilities that God has for you, and the only way that can take root, the only way that that can grow in your life into something beautiful is for it to break open, then we shouldn't be afraid of the brokenness. We must be broken in order to really see the full God potential. I'm not saying that we go out and we look for things to break us, not at all. But the world will do a good job breaking us down. Others that we love will do a good job breaking our hearts. We can't protect ourselves from being broken. What if, when we find ourselves broken, what if we could see beyond the pain and the tears that that is an opportunity for something new to grow? So I'm going to be planting my seeds, a lot of them, even though my husband doesn't want to expand the garden because we have a problem with the well water. But that did get me down a little bit. I just feel like, I don't know, it was a week of the universe saying no, no, no to me. And I had to just take a step back and remember that God is a God of yeses. God is a God of seeing us through whatever breaks us, seeing us through to making us whole again. So that is where I was the first week of Eastertide. I'm slowly finding hope again, and I'm starting to see new life that is starting to emerge. It helps that I think the last of the snow is over with here in Vermont, but who knows? We did have snow once in May. Remember this, when it all seems hopeless, it is not. You are not buried. You are being planted. And that seed of hope, that seed of possibilities, that seed of potential, that seed of a beautiful new life, it needs to be broken open in order for something beautiful to emerge. So my friends, may you find yourself today being planted once again by a great and loving God.